how do we cross the indifference threshold quickly? Okay? So that's what we want to ask ourselves. We want to go out, we want to get these reference experiences so we can internalize this new sense of reality. We want to get the reference experiences. How do we get unstifled quickly? And this is going to come down to how I was able to get the really high consistency. Here's what we did. First of all, I want to stress this. When we came up with this stuff, we're just random, silly dudes that come up with this stuff in our spare time. So this is not like the official way of doing anything. This is just some silly nonsense that we came up with in our own time. All right, so you want to cross that indifference threshold. Now the first thing that I want you to notice is this. You know how when you're not in the mood to do a math problem, you just don't feel like doing it? You want to quickly shift your state as fast as possible into wanting to do it. So for example, look, if I were to ask you guys, would you guys all like to be feeling great and all that kind of stuff right now? All of you want to, would you agree? Yeah. Okay, all of you want to be feeling great. But see, you say that, but in truth, you probably are happy right where you are. You know, if you're sitting there, look, if you're sitting there chilling out with your buddy, and there's a group of girls over there, of course you want to go and chat them and be silly and fun and do all that stuff, but you're okay where you are. Have you guys ever heard the principle, is it called the principle of inertia? Yeah. What is it?
Stay in motion.
What is it?
Objects in motion, stay in motion.
Could you yell that out?
Objects in motion, stay in motion.
Can you yell that out? Because this is a course on that kind of thing. Yeah.
Objects in motion, stay in motion, and if they're still, they stay still.
Unless what? Acted upon?
Less force.
Force, okay? So what he said, for the cheap seats, an object in motion stays in motion, and an object at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. So when you're sitting there with your buddy, just drinking, you know, just sitting there chilling out, and there's some girls you want to go talk to, you don't have any momentum, right? So you need to be the outside force. You remember how I said you are not your mind? Your mind may be like, no, dude, just chill. Just chill, bro. Bro, tons of girls. Get it later, bro. And you're like, nah, bro. Okay? We're not going to chill now, bro. We're going to move. So, okay? So what you do...
Chill's not even here, is he?
What's that? Okay. So what you do is you've got to act on it, right? So even me right now, sitting up here in front of the crowd, I'm not necessarily totally in the mood to just start being silly. But what I can do is I can act upon myself as similar to like an outside force, okay? I can do that to myself to get myself going, all right? So why don't I bring you up here, okay? You can be the lucky one this time, all right? Now you can see, even as I brought you up here, show them the facial expression that you just did right now. He went like this. Okay, zoom up on my face. He was like that, all right? Okay?
I don't want to have to sing.
Okay? You don't want to have to sing? Okay. Right? So remember what we talked about. We said, you know, you want to be silly, you want to be having fun, but you're chilling, right?
Right.
You were okay in your seat.
I was.
It was all good, man, in the seat, right?
Yeah.
Okay? So you're not totally in the mood to be doing that, right? So what we need to do is he's in this kind of, you know, I need to be the outside force here, all right? So I need to get him unstifled, all right? So come over here, okay? All right, so the first game that we could play, we call it the imitation game. Okay? And remember that to unstifle yourself, the main goal is to do something that you would think, okay, here's the criteria basically. It's something that's out of character, like it's something that quote unquote isn't really you. That's the first criteria. And the second criteria is to like expand out the sort of energy, time, and space that you're sort of taking up. Have you guys ever heard the idea that the principle that one of the #1 driving forces in human psychology is to be consistent to what you perceive as being your identity? Anyone ever heard that?
Yes.
Okay? Because when we have that certain identity, like look, I found out that when I act like this and I have this type of personality, I get acceptance from the group. Think of the group like a big puzzle, right? If you have carved out a certain puzzle shape, a certain piece of the puzzle, and it fits into the group well, you don't want to change the piece of the puzzle and it doesn't fit into the status quo properly. All right? So we're always trying to be congruent. That's why as guys, we're more likely to go get in a fist fight where you get knocked in the face, you're knocking a guy back, than you are to go out dressed in a tutu. Why? Because one, you're like, I like tutus. But the thing is, okay, most guys, why will they get in the fight? Because that's congruent to their tough guy identity. That's manly, but they don't want to do something that's humiliating. You know what's interesting about this game? Does this game really involve more being manly at first as a newbie? Or does it involve more like humiliation a lot of the time, right? That's what a lot of it is. So that's kind of a funny thing. Now look, so you're sitting here and you're like, oh God, now he's coming back to me. Okay? He's coming back. Okay? Oh, I'm going to have to do this. So what we quickly want to do, in the same way that you might feel now, is also how you might feel in front of a nightclub.
Right.
You say that, I mean, you're from Los Angeles, right?
Vegas.
So, Vegas? Okay, sweet. So you like to go to Pure, Tryst, whatever. Okay, so you're in Vegas, and you've got all these super hot girls, many as you know, who are probably escorts in Vegas, but you know, they seem to be hot, right?
Yeah.
And it's not such a problem there, huh? Yeah. So basically, you want to unstifle yourself, right? So same way that now you're just chilling, you want to unstifle yourself. Okay. All right. Okay. So look. The first thing we do is called the imitation game. And what that's designed to do is to get you to take on a behavior that's different from what you normally are. So for example, I'm going to ask you to imitate something, and you have to show it to me, okay? All right? Okay, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, and just come up with random stuff, I'm going to ask you to imitate a lion. No encouragement. Okay, don't let him get acceptance. Because the club is not going to be like, do it, right? The club is going to be like, okay, the club will be like this, okay? Just keep it new, like a club, right? It's like, That's the club. It's like, what's this? This guy's a lion, right? Okay, all right, go ahead.
Roar.
How bad did that suck? Okay, all right. So look, okay. So what we're trying to do, the reason why you're doing that is psychological. It means you're healthy. The fact that you're not like, right, that's healthy. That's normal. It's called your mind is working properly. You can read social cues. It's odd to act like a lion.
Right.
It's weird, okay? So, okay, right? All right, so you're healthy. So the thing is, though, is that being a champion sometimes involves imposing your reality on other people and not giving a damn. So look, you can ask me to be something, and we're going to build this, okay? And I'm going to just be as stupid and out of my own character as humanly possible. Just give me some random nonsense, okay? And we go back and forth until we... And look, when you start, your imitations will kind of suck. But then as you build them up, you get more and more unstifled. So I'm the same. Right now, I'm like, God, I'm like thinking, what's this guy going to give me, man? All right? So here, go ahead.
Crocodile.
A crocodile. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm going to give you a toaster. Okay?
Okay.
Chode. Better. Do it better. Come on. Sounds. Animation. Okay? Hands up. No. Not just listen to me, okay? Do like a full explosion of toaster, like you're a waffle, okay? Like a cheerleader would do it, all right? Okay, like, all right? Oh! Okay, give me one.
Rooster.
A rooster? Cock-a-doodle-doo! I don't even know what I'm being right now, okay? Okay? All right? Okay? All right? Okay, I'm going to give you a rhinoceros.
Roar!
Oh! Okay, give me it even better.
Okay.
More down, more into it.
T-Rex. Oh, another.
Yeah, same rhinoceros, okay? Come on!
Roar!
Hey! Okay, all right, give me one.
T-Rex.
A T-Rex. Ah! All right, okay. I'll give you a whirlwind, a twister, a tornado. Hey! Okay, give me one.
Let me think.
Anything.
Whale.
A whale! What does the sounds of a whale make? Oh, well, what is that? Okay. Okay. All right, give a cow. Come on, louder. Give it noise. Echo your voice. Did you see this? Did you guys see it? The first moo, unstifled. The second moo is stifled, right? Run up and down the thing here like a cow. Do it. All right. Yeah. All right, okay. Give me another one. Give me like whatever. Okay, come up. You can do it with us.
Awesome.
Okay, all right. Okay, he'll probably beat me. Okay, go. All right. Okay.
Hey, Mom.
Okay. All right, okay. All right, give him some, okay, back and forth, okay? You two. Don't look to me. You two.
You're not gonna look like a fool anymore?
No, it's not cool anymore. No, dude, come on. See, look. No, but you see what, look. Isn't this like a boot camp, right? Yeah. When the instructor is all in there, it's yeah, right? But then when like the guys are on their own, it's like, oh, where's the instructor, all right? So look, okay, before we even start, what are some commonalities with what I'm doing? I'm yelling a lot, right?
Right.
Yell more. Why? Because you're infringing on people's airspace when you do that. I know it sounds bad, but to unstifle yourself, you have to do that. The other thing, in your body, you have to show whatever and get out of character. Get out of character. Because then, look, what is stifling you? It's that, remember I made you laugh at your ideal pimp self? Look, what do most guys in the club do? It's all like, right? They're trying to be that pimp self. So you want to quickly break out of that, all right? Quickly, you want, look, if you want to get real, consistent in the club, right? You want to get real consistent in the club?
Sure, yeah.
You guys want to get real consistent in the club?
Yeah!
Okay. Damn. All right. So look, what you got to do is when you get out there, what's the main thing that's blocking you? It's that stifling, isn't it, right? You're stifled. So you want to quickly unstifle. And when I started doing this every 5 to 10 minutes, damn, okay? That's all I'd say is, whoa, okay? Damn, all right? The buddy that I was out with was at an intermediate level. He's my good friend, Oljai, all right? And he was making out with like perfect 10 girls and stuff, left and right, like just boom, boom, when we started to do this. So look, okay? Same game. It's called the imitation game, all right? Go. You got to yell. You got to make it big. Pump the crowd up, guys.
Yeah! Big. Woo! Big. All right, hold on.
Make noises.
What?
Like make like use your lungs.
All right.
Like that's a great sound effect. That's better than I could have come up with.
Big has a shitty sound though. So.
Yeah, like that's a great sound. But you know, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Even though you're making that sound, you're not infringing on other people's airspace.
That's not unstifling. So I need like.
Yes. Yeah. Like notice how a lot of the imitations I did weren't really that accurate. Right? We're just using it for inspiration, okay? You can just exaggerate it. Make it the cartoon retarded version.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So, give me another one. A hippo.
Just do it.
Make loud noises and shit.
All right. What's gonna
Do it. Doesn't have to be accurate.
Ooh.
More. Give it more. Pump the crowd up. Own the crowd. Keep pumping. More. You need. Look, the energy's still there. You know where he is right now? Is he teetering? You guys almost feel the urge to clap, but you're teetering, right? Yeah. You're teetering. Push them over the edge, okay? Like do whatever you got. You know, like in breakdancing, when the crowd just goes nuts, teeter over that edge. Push yourself over your edge to complete unstifling. Go.
Oh.
Teetering. It's almost there. You know why? You got to run around more, okay? More engaged. Show that full stifling. You want to try?
What, hippo?
Anything, dude. Give him one.
I have something good, right? Be like, I'm gonna say monkey.
Elephant.
Be an elephant. That's good.
Stifled or unstifled, guys? Okay, this is great. Thank God we have some examples of stifling. Okay? All right? So the thing, but isn't it interesting that this is like a new channel of communication that you can be aware of both in other people and in yourself? All right? That's the interesting side of it. So in a lot of ways, in any kind of presentation, or like whether it's I use the breakdancing as an example. When the crowd goes nuts is when there's that total unstifling. You want to know why that is? Because we're all confined by our egos, aren't we? Yeah. And we all hate it. And when someone can get unstifled, you can lead a crowd into being unstifled, right? And that's why when you can unstifle quickly with women, and you walk up totally unstifled, boom, you introduce yourself, she's just like, whoa, right? That's why I love this naturalness. And by the way, you see guys that are trained off of pickup lines, right? They're getting trained off pickup lines first, so they're all stifled, and they're trying to use an entertaining pickup line to hold attention in spite of being stifled. Yeah. It's like a Band-Aid over a gaping wound, right? When in reality, if you just got unstifled, you could get the set open with any type of thing that you have to say, right? So look, we're all here, we're kind of like, look, I deliberately allow us to become stifled again. We were unstifled before, right? And now we're stifled again, right? This is a lot what the nightclub is like. This is why the nightclub has that, like, do you guys feel it? It's like, you guys feel that? Yeah. Okay. So we've allowed it to die down. Well, in a nightclub where you're intimidated, that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. All right? That kind of thing is going to happen. Now, let me tell you something else that I saw one night. I was at this club, I think it was called Area. Is that still hot in LA now, or is that, like, just gone now? Okay. It's now okay. All right. Well, when I was there before, it was like the shit, right? And I see this group of male models that resembled the Zoolander squad at the start that all got lit in fire by gasoline, right? Okay. Yeah. So they look like that, right? And whatever, they were just having fun. But at one point, they took over the whole club. You want to know how they did it? They started clapping and jumping up and down. And what they did was they pushed their energy so far out that they took over the whole club, all right? And I knew at that point, I'm like, I'm done. Okay? I'm like, I just chill. Just enjoy it, because I'm not doing anything right now, all right? So I just chilled. Now, so what they did, I'll show you how they did it, okay? How they took over the energy of the whole area. And I later did this on a boot camp, and it was amazing, all right? Because I saw it, and I was like, I want to do that. Okay, so do it with me right now, okay? We have to unstifle ourselves. Are you feeling yourself being judged? Do you guys feel judged?
Not really.
You don't? Nice. Okay, do you feel judged a bit? I feel a bit judged, because I'm like, in my mind right now, I'm like, I hope this works. Okay? Right?
A little bit of
Okay, a little bit? Okay. So what we got to do is we have to get totally unstifled, all right? So this is what they did. They're on the dance floor, and the four guys, right? Wouldn't you think that 4 guys cannot be having fun like girls? Because they're guys, and that's kind of homoerotic, right? But they were able to, like they were able to do it, right? So here's what they did, okay? So basically, they started clapping like this, and then they started jumping up and down. So I want you 3 guys to follow me here, and you need to get unstifled with me, okay? And look, we're all in this together, all right? And look, is the way that you feel now similar to how you feel in a hot club a little bit? Yeah. See the similarities? The judgment, right? So we want to quickly, now what should we do now? I know, in this state, we'll just start approaching, right? Right, getting blown out, right? So instead, what we do is we pre-unstifle, all right? And that's what I started doing. That's how my consistency went up. So look, we'll start, okay, first you guys are going to follow me, okay? Okay, we're going to get ready, go like this, all right, now go like this. Okay, wait, no, this is sucking so bad. All right, okay, same time, okay? Like this, and then go, yes, 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 yes. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Can they have a seat? Give them a hand, guys. All right. Okay. So, all right. So that's what they did. I saw those guys doing that, and it was amazing because they had. Need to do some cardio. All right. What they had was what Tim would call lordship. All right? They were the lords. So I saw that on a Thursday. It was actually before the Transformation Super Conference. And we did the Transformations Conference, and on Sunday, we had a boot camp. Now, one of the gentlemen taking a boot camp was about 55 years old, and he had shown up wearing a yellow cardigan. Now that's fine. However, the club that we had to go to that night was an 18-plus goth club. Okay? Right? I'm not kidding. So I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, how is this gentleman, but that's all that's open. It was a Sunday, right? Normally we'll do daytime on Sundays, but there was the Transformation Super Conference going on the day. So I take him out. So I'm like, okay. Obviously I'm feeling like, kind of like I'm swimming with a weight on my leg because he doesn't fit in there, right? But I'm like, no, that is not going to happen, all right? Because I have a rule, and that's that the club can get on top of you or you can get on top of the club. And if you allow it to, that club will get on top of you. So I say, look, we're going to do this. So I get in there, and not for even 1 second do I think to myself, oh, this is going to be tough. I'm like, we're going to do this. So I take him to the back area, a big smoking section. And I get there, and I'm like, I'm ready, right? And I'd seen this before. I'd seen it on the Thursday. I'm like, all right, clap, boom, boom, boom. And we start to clap, start to jump up and down. The whole back area turns into a giant mosh pit. Okay? The whole back. And they're like, yeah, you cool guys. Yellow cardigan man, yeah, right? And then I see this, and I'm like, whoa, I did it, right? I did it. Okay? I just stop, grab yellow cardigan, boom, shove him on the hottest girl I can find, right? She's like, okay, right? Next thing you know, he's all face-to-face in the corner with his 18-year-old girl. He's 55. It's amazing, all right? It's like a miracle, okay? But it can be done because women respond to that kind of communication. Anyway, look, that whole unstifling, that's also where the pounce came from, by the way. That same night, I was so on, I saw one girl with 6 guys, and I was like, yeah, like this. And I looked, and I went like this, I go, blackmail's first impressions, get this. Like that, okay? You know how to clear nails? And the whole group just goes like that, right? Disperse, all right? We call that chode vaporization, okay? All right? Just disperse them. So I just did that kind of just as a joke. So, all right, so basically I do that, and I realize, look, being unstifled is what works. So even if, like, when we're doing this exercise of being unstifled, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's total belief, but you can quickly unstifle yourself to a point where you have so much indifference you can do anything, and you've gone halfway towards total belief. With that, you can get reference experiences. And the more reference experiences that you get, the more that you realize in your unconscious mind this great new person that you want to be, the more evidence that you get of it, the more that you understand the subtle little micro behaviors, and the better that you become. 4 days. Oh, man. 4 days. You know, I would love to just go for 30 days. You know.
Do it.
You know.
30.
30 days
Right.
in the hole.
Yep. You know, it's funny being up here. You just eventually get into that zone where it just becomes reality after a while. This is our reality that we've created together over these 4 days. Now we're moving in very deep down the rabbit hole. We are in the last half of the 4th day. And so I'm going to get to some ideas that for me have been the most important that I've ever had. So let me lead into them by sort of wrapping this last section, which sort of tees up the next set of ideas. All right. What you guys have basically, you know, had percolating in your mind here is that there's these new behaviors, new habits, new behavior patterns, and new thought patterns that can enter into your mind and grow. They're like new seeds, they grow. And there's all of these different understandings that you're slowly implementing, okay? You know, the easier ones are things like eye contact. As a newbie, we go out and we give eye contact and we go, wow, look at that. I was walking down the street and I held eye contact with this girl and she maintained it the whole time. She smiled. Maybe I could have dated her, all right? You know? And, you know, we learn, like, you know, we start to get these new understandings. Then there's more complicated understandings, like, you guys might remember from Foundations, I spoke about the idea of vibing. And learning that when you vibe with somebody, that is not a linear conversation that has a purpose, but it's a non-purposeful conversation. Right? Do you guys remember that? Yeah. Okay. You remember how, like, see, to me, what vibing is sort of a way of cleansing yourself out. All right? Remember we've spoken about the idea of being present, being in the moment? Well, what social vibing does for me is I can find I could be having like the toughest day, right? Have any of you guys ever been having like the toughest day? And some days can be tough, of course, for all of us. And then you just go out and maybe you hang out with your friends or you go out to a nightclub or somewhere social, wherever it is. And after a night of just kind of vibing with people, you walk home thinking like, what was the big deal? Yeah. Anyone ever had that experience? You just kind of walk home, you know, it's crazy. Like, you just sort of walk home and, you know, if you had a good night, you just feel good. And in a lot of ways, that's because the idea of being in the moment and presence is contagious, all right? That's really the thing, is that if you have an individual who's very stuck in his head and has all this noise going on in his mind, and you have that strong degree of presence, you can pull him out of that, all right? And when people go out and vibe, that's what they're doing. This is the whole issue where a lot of guys that come into learning success with women, they learn about being social, and then once they get a girlfriend or a wife, they think it ends there, right? Whoa, I can just go back to being, you know, World of Warcraft man now, right? I can go back to my old self and just be an introvert and not socialize. And then a lot of those old habits come back. Learning this stuff, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be going around, you know, hooking up with girls left and right, but the new social habits that you get, those kinds of things, to me, those are maintained, all right? In fact, and I've said this before, whenever I read a book, all right, and I'm reading a book, on one level, sure, I'm looking for that information out of it. Like, I want new ideas. But on another level, to me, what reading a book is, a book by, you know, a book that was written by someone who's very present, is that it's pulling me back into that empowering state of mind. It's amazing how with like a great author, your mind can be totally fried, and you can almost just pick up the book off the shelf, look at it, and it puts you back into that zone, right? And that's a habit that to me goes every day. And the same goes with vibing with people. That's really what it's about. But you see, when you work a lot, say that you work a job like, say, as a computer programmer, as an engineer, for example, what that is a very logical state of mind. Have you guys ever heard the concept that logic is the opposite of emotion? Yeah. Right? So logic and emotion are almost like oil and water, right? They flush each other out. And so, for example, look, say that you're making out with a girl in bed, and then suddenly you say, hey, what is 6 times 6? Is it, 36? What is it? All right? And then what does that do, guys? What kind of response does that create in the woman? Confusion. Massive confusion, right? It's a vibe breaker. You know what I'm saying? It's a total vibe breaker. And when you're vibing with people, whenever you're trying to be too logical, oftentimes that can be a vibe breaker. Other times you can be being logical and be vibing kind of, intermittently, and that can be happening as well. But the idea being that socializing and vibing with people is an end in and of itself. All right? That's, where you ask people, say that you ask someone a rhetorical question and they think you're quizzing their intelligence. They're testing your intelligence. Like the classic example being like, hey, I just got this new jacket. It's really cool. Guess how much I paid for it? And the guy's like, wait a minute. He says, guess how much he paid for it. That means it's low. I'm going to show him how smart I am by saying something really low. And he's like, $5. And you're like, well, I paid 20, but it's still low. And he's like, oh, yeah. Right? And it's like, right? It's a vibe breaker, okay? And some people do that, and I used to do that myself for years and years. When you're vibing with somebody, if you feel like you're having to prove yourself, that's not really vibing. You guys understand that? All right? Do you guys understand that emotional states are addictive? Yeah. These are just some quick last-minute touch-ups that I want to do before we sort of wrap this whole program, right? Just some last-minute concepts I want to remind you guys of. State being addictive, right? So look at it this way. If somebody is addicted to positivity and you talk to them about something negative, what's typically the response from them?
They'll leave.
They'll leave, right? Or say that it's a friend. Say that you're in a very negative mood and you've got a friend who's addicted to positivity. And you're like, oh, dude, all this stuff that's happening, it sucks, it's so bad. He might say, oh, dude, man, that sucks, man. Well, don't worry about it. Maybe he'll reframe it, right? He'll say, well, maybe this good will come out of it. Don't worry about it. How about somebody who's addicted to negativity? What'll happen when you bring up a negative topic? Play off of it. Go with it. Explore it. Look at all the other negative ramifications that it has, right? And really sink their teeth into it. Okay? And it's really interesting because when you look at the sort of ways that the sort of topics that people talk about, you can see what they're addicted to. Understand that negativity and positivity, these are different emotional states. And the more often that you access an emotional state, the more synaptic pathways that your mind creates in order to access it again and again and again. Did you also know that memory is state access dependent? Yes. So for example, if you're in a very negative state, the memories that you also had while being in a previous negative state will be more in the forefront of your reality. This is why when you're having a chode night, it feels like you have been a chode forever, right? And when you're having a great night, tell me if this is not true. When you're having a great night, you're like, why did I ever care about this? This is so easy. I've always been like this, right? It's always been like this. Why was it? Why am I stressing? It's always been easy when you're having a great night because in the forefront of your reality, you remember those nights, right? And what's also interesting is when you're feeling negative, you're thinking about these other negative things that happens, and the cause and effect relationship in your mind is screwed up because you're thinking, I feel bad. Why do I feel bad? Because these other negative things that I'm thinking about. That's what's making me feel bad. You guys see the cause and effect mix up here? Yeah. When you're in a negative state, you remember things that make you feel bad. And then you go, why am I negative? I know, let's rationalize. It's because of that. All right? So how about with a logical state of mind and an emotional state of mind? If you're used to being a computer programmer, for example, and you're doing logic all day, a lot of the time when you get out to that social gathering, you feel alienated from the environment. You feel disconnected. You're seeing people playing around, and you're still trying to compute it. All right? That's because the emotional side hasn't come in. See, a logical conversation, who did this? All right. Okay? Prank on the teacher. All right. Look. Okay. All right. Oh my God, man. All right. So look, a logical conversation is linear, all right? It goes like that, okay? It's very linear. That's how it goes. So in your mind, in the thinking in your mind, you're thinking very linearly. Vibing is more like this. It's more like, here's you, and it's just kind of going like that. Kind of similar to that other picture. All right, so look. Basically what's happening is this. When you're vibing with somebody, okay, you want to learn how to get quick wit. You guys want to learn that?
Yeah.
Like sharp wit, like that instant nice wit. What basically happens is your mind plays an association game. That's what's going on there. So say that somebody says some word, and you want to make a joke about that word. People who are sharp-witted, they don't have that very logical. They might have that side of themselves developed, but that's not what they're engaging when they're being quick-witted. What quick wit comes from, essentially, is that in your mind, that kind of like, whatever joke the person threw at you or whatever word they said that you want to be witty with, that goes to your head, and your mind quickly cycles through in about 1 millisecond, like 1,000 different things that are related to that you could use to misinterpret it. Do you guys see what I'm saying here, right? Because a lot of wit is misinterpretation, or to playfully frame control, like in some witty way or whatever it is. And your mind, and so when you're vibing with somebody, or especially with a girl, you feel your mind just kind of floating, all right? Like your thoughts are sort of floating. And so, say that you're speaking with a girl, and there's like a really great pickup going on. I mean like a really smooth one. What's essentially happening is you're both kind of like in this floating headspace where she just sort of shoots something out there, and you're just kind of like, and like little associations just sort of arise. Do you guys see the difference between the thoughts arise to you as opposed to like you chase the thoughts? Basically, when you're relaxed and you're not trying to force it by thinking linearly, but you're vibing with somebody, little funny images that sort of amuse you kind of come up. So she says something that amuses her, and then that kind of shoots an image into your head, like a fun image, and then you sort of shoot something back, that amuses yourself and therefore amuses her back, all right? And that's sort of what a really great interaction looks like. So if you look at a guy who's really great with women, if he's talking to a girl in a nightclub, because what is the whole what's the value in a nightclub? Fun, right? So think about the context here. If you're in a nightclub and you're talking, basically what's going on is you're both having fun, you're both, and it's just sort of floating. You guys see what I'm saying here? Yeah. Right? You're both just kind of like, blah, like just floating. And there's no like trying to qualify yourself. You're not like sinking back into your head and like, it's not like she says, oh, I went to this city, and then you're like, wait a minute, I have a very impressive trip in that city. I'm going to tell her about it now, so she'll like me. You guys see the difference here? All right? And you have to trust that process. So things like understanding that you can condition yourself towards positivity. Things like understanding what vibing is. Things like understanding that you don't need to qualify yourself. These are really big things that you internalize. You can hear them here in the seminar, but you may not have internalized them until you go out and get the reference experiences to see what it's all about and to trust them. Remember we said trusting in a foreign set of bearings? You have to trust them. So how about, okay, to me, the two most important bearings that you have to trust, one is the first one, which we already mentioned, and that's that girls can like you just for you. What does that mean? Try walking up and talking to a girl and being in the moment and not thinking ahead and just allowing it to go in whatever direction it's going to go without stretching and striving for outcome. And beyond that, the other one that I think to me is like the ultimate self-fulfilling prophecy for guys who really live in abundance when it comes to women is the belief and the total internalization that sex between a man and a woman is a natural consequence of chemistry and an inevitability. More than anything. You know how when you really believe that you can talk to anybody? Have you guys ever had a night where you really believe that you could talk to anybody? Right? And you walk up and you totally anticipate a positive response, right? Your anticipated responses are always positive on that. Well, how about when you get used to the phone, right? Say that you've got it into your list of assumptions that you can talk to any girl or any guy. Great, but now you're not used to calling on the phone. So you get used to calling on the phone, right? It goes into your reality that you can call girls on the phone and they'll be cool about it. And that even if they're not, it doesn't matter. Well, see, to me, the kind of like the last one, beyond like learning to extract, learning that you can make out, the very final one is changing your beliefs about sex to being like this big deal, to just being a way to cement a moment or a way to blow off steam. All right? Because think about it. When you look at like a party, right? When you guys think about a party, how do people wind up hooking up? typically what happens is everybody's having fun, everyone's having a good time, and then the sort of tension and the energy builds, and then it's just a way to blow off steam, right? Maybe you have a nice moment with a girl and it's a way to cement the moment. But rather than thinking of it as some kind of big deal, okay? And it's the guys who have really internalized that sex is just a natural thing, it's not a big deal. Like, say that you wind up hooking up with a girl, you're not going to your friends like, holy shit, dude, I hooked up with this girl, it was nuts. All right? Trying to bring it into your ego structure. It's just not a big deal. It's a part of your everyday life. All right? You can always tell a newbie who's really proud that he's getting laid because he's going to tell everybody about every conquest that he's had. Right? He wants everybody to know about it. He needs them to know about it. And that's fine. Everyone's at a different point in their development. I'm not remotely even criticizing because we've all done it at different points. But the thing is, I think when you've really arrived, it's just in your reality. It's like, yeah, of course, you know, girls, guys, sex, like, okay, whatever, right? You can take a girl out. You're having fun together. You're not even really thinking about the outcome. But on the other hand, sex just keeps winding up happening. It just always happens, all right? It's just one of those things. It just happens. It's just a natural consequence, not a big deal. So look, here's where, to me, and this is sort of how we're transitioning, where things get really, really crazy. All right? Here's where things get out of control. When you're building up anticipated responses, so you're beginning to say, look, women respond well to me. You know, when I walk over, she'll respond well. Most guys that you know can't do that. Agreed?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So if most guys that you know can't do that, you have to rationalize to yourself why it is that you're suddenly able to do it. Okay? And on some level, you start to view yourself as being superior in a way. Right? And you're trying to get evidence all the time to prove that you can live in this new reality. You become addicted to getting reference experiences. This is a good thing, by the way. Addicted to chasing reference experiences is a good thing. It's just not a final destination that you want to get lost in. So look, what happens is, has any of you guys ever had any of these things? Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Has anybody here ever been at a point where every girl that you see, you must approach if you're attracted? Okay, good. Has anyone here ever been at a point where if a cute girl walks by and you don't approach it, you feel guilty about it? Has anybody here ever been at a point where you're so into approaching women that you're out on a day 2 with a girl and you're still scanning the room for more women to meet? Okay? How ironic is that? Right? Because you're in that mode. Give me reference experiences. Give me reference experiences. You want that. And you want new evidence. Your mind is craving evidence to prove that you can really believe in this new abundance-based reality that you live in. It wants it. It needs it. You can't just say, I believe in it. You ever see these guys like, I believe in abundance, and you know they don't have abundance, and there's a weird incongruence? Yeah. You need that, all right? You need that to really believe it. You need some references. So you crave it, and you go out and get it. But here's where things get even more interesting. If you live with a new certain set of beliefs, and your mind is still sucking off of secondhand experience, which all of ours do to an extent, are you going to want to surround yourself with other chodes who keep pounding it into you that you can't do this new stuff? No. Right? So what do? We distance ourselves from our old friends and we wind up getting all new friends who are all into pickup. Who here has ever done that? All right. Okay? Let me ask you this, and it's a trick question. Good thing or bad thing? What do you guys think? Both. That's right. It's both. Because on one level, you can criticize it, right? You can say, look at this. This guy just gave up everything that made him cool. He gave up his social life to learn how to pick up girls. But on the other hand, every single person who's now an expert that criticizes all that like try-hardness that went into it, all were try-hards themselves. Right? They're like, oh, dude, I took that path. You don't need to take that path. Right? You don't need to do that. You can spare yourself all that. Well, that's because the point that they've reached is a point where it's like for them to keep hanging out with their pickup bros all the time would actually be hurting their skills because it's taking away from their depth. But to really get into this, a lot of the time you need to surround yourself with other people that live in the same abundance-based mindset as you. You have to do that. All right? There's a craving of it. So that's where things start to get really interesting. So basically, look, why is it that we're doing this? Because if we lose sight of our new reality, it falls away from us. Yeah. Think about what that really means, guys. If we're around other people that are living in scarcity, and we're not approaching girls and continually cultivating the new reality, it falls away from us. Has anyone here ever had an experience where you had the reality going great and then you stopped for a while and it fell away from you? All right. So you keep going out more and more. But here's where it gets really interesting to me. You become, how could I put it? You have unhitched from your old identity. You have unhitched from the easiness of social conditioning. And so there's something about a newbie, or even a guy who's at a moderate, like intermediate level, where there's sort of a hole in his identity. He doesn't know who he is anymore. And he sort of craves validation. There's a sort of anxiousness about you when you're in a newbie or an intermediate phase. There's a sort of something missing that's there. And that's sort of an irony, because on one level you're trying to get good with women, but on the other hand, being centered is what makes you good with women, isn't it? Yeah. So it's sort of an interesting kind of paradox. Look, your mind craves the inundation. It wants the new reality, and it needs references in order for you to keep living that new reality. And look, in order for you to be able to walk up to the girl with full confidence, you need to keep providing your mind with reference experience that this is easy, this is possible. All that social conditioning that said I couldn't do it was wrong. Okay? All the limiting beliefs that I had about why I can't do it were wrong. So you need to keep creating those reference experiences. But the problem is, like I said, it makes you antsy. What happens next? You start constantly talking about your new skills. Who here has ever just constantly been addicted to telling other people about their new skills? Say I. Aye. All right. Who here has ever read about it continually for hours and hours and hours? Say I. Aye. All right. Who here has actually gone out of their way to hang out, especially with other people who have the exact same interest to reinforce the new reality? Say I. Aye. All right. Who here has felt the drive to constantly approach girls over and over and over to prove that you can do it? Say I. Aye. All right. So we see that that's something that happens, okay? You focus on nothing other than will reinforce the new reality. Why do we do that? Because when you live in abundance, what happens to your state? Zoom, right? That's what's happening to you. When you're actually doing well, when you're doing awesome in the field, you feel incredible. And you walk around the next day feeling like the shit. So of course, you want to keep doing the things that will make you keep feeling like that. You're getting results. You're focused on it, all right? So what happens to you? You know what? You can't relate to your friends as much anymore because they talk about this nonsense. You get buried within the new reality, and you just keep pushing it, all right? And look, have you guys ever heard the expression, a path of excess can lead to wisdom? Yeah. Well, that's very much true, right? A path of excess, excessive action of whatever type, can lead to wisdom eventually. But the thing is this. Think about it as like a false self that begins to evolve. Because your mind cannot process these like amazing, you're doing these amazing, incredible things, like being able to make out with a girl that you've never met, you know, within a minute, or being able to like get like the most gorgeous girl in the club, get her come home with you, stuff like that. Your mind is like, how is it that I'm doing this? I must just be the shit, right? And so a false self begins to evolve. Right? This new identity. Because essentially what has happened, if you think about it, most people live in fear. Remember the very first day? Most people walk through life in a walking daze. And there is the nice shores of social conditioning. Think of this as being like the open ocean. All right? Who knows what's out there? And here's the nice shores of social conditioning. A socially defined identity. Right? Is it not easy to know who you are when you fit so nicely into the little puzzle of being a chode? You know, being a chode is easy. Being a chode does not require an expenditure of energy. You can walk through life as a chode. Nobody will insult you, or at least it'll be very rare. You won't be humiliated. You will not have to push your edge. And so when your sense of self is attached onto that, like a boat, right? And you say, mainstream society has all of these beliefs. They have them. Many of them which are right and amazing and awesome, but some of which are limiting and very much herd mentality, you know? Very much keeping you not from advancing to where you could go. And you say, I'm going to break off. And so you go out into the open shore, right? Or we'll even do a boat, okay? And you go out into the open shore. And you're looking for that next island, right? You want to find that new sense of self. You want to find out who you are. You want to forge a new identity for yourself, right? This program we call Deep Identity Level Change. You want to find out who you are. You're looking for because the thing is, Is your socially defined identity who you really are?
No.
Why not?
That's what other people say of you, not what you say of yourself.
What's that?
That's because that's what other people say of you, not what you say of yourself.
It's just given to you. You never really thought about it.
It's based on scarcity and needing to find stuff to build your self-esteem.
Oftentimes based on scarcity, absolutely. And so that's not really who you are. So you say, I'm going to find out who I am. I want to get to the core of who I am. And so you let go of the easiness. All your friends that are still on the shore, they go bye-bye. You wave bye, right? And they get farther and farther away.
Yeah.
And you know what can happen? Different things happen. Different people get different results. Some people, they go away for a little bit, and they go, I don't like this. Where's the shore? Let's go back. You guys all know people who did that?
Yeah.
They say, screw it, man. This is too, I don't need, you know, they'll have a reason. They'll rationalize it, right? I don't need that. This just isn't for me. It's not, you know, this stuff's stupid, blah, whatever, right? There's a million different things you can find to criticize. Other people, you know what happens to them? They get lost out there, don't they? Have you guys ever known someone who was just lost out there in this new false sense of self? Just like they think that they found this new super powerful sense of self, but really they don't really believe it. They think they found it, and they're stuck there, right? And a lot of us have been stuck there, okay? And you see them, they're lost out there. They don't know who they are anymore. And because they don't know who they are, they'll spend like a decade or whatever just trying to get references all the time. Validate me, validate me, validate me, right? They're not deciding to be chodes. They've stepped up. They have at least tried to step up, right? They're not here anymore. They have gone out there. But it's like more references, more references. I need more validation. And the validation becomes an addiction, and it can consume you, all right? And ideally, there's some people who eventually get to their core self. They find that other side of the shore, all right? They find it, and they figure out who they are. They get to their core self, and they become very centered. And along with being very centered, they have a huge wealth of reference experiences and incredible calibration, incredible social calibration. They have this whole new range of behaviors that they can take part in, but they've found that centeredness, all right? And that's the type of ideal that I've wanted to bring you guys to, and to sort of set you out on that kind of a journey. So that leads us to our next section, all right? And this, to me, this was the biggest epiphany that I had in this entire deal, pretty much. All right? So, growing up, I was very unhappy, extremely unhappy. A lot of people say, wow, man, you're so motivated. I would say that, sure, I've been motivated, but I would also say I've been running away from pain a lot of my life. All right? You guys have seen me, you know, whenever I talk about things like social conditioning, you can see that kind of negativity, that kind of negative energy field that I get in me, where it's like if you actually look at me, I'm sort of have this interesting character, because on one level I can get up in front of crowds, I can talk to the crowd and blah blah blah. But if you look at me carefully, you can see little cracks of my old self kind of coming through, almost like a wounded cat that got like left out and like kicked around and stuff like that. And it's like you got your cat, but every so often it's like like that. And I feel that in myself, all right? Okay, I can feel that, my old self, little cracks of it coming through, and I'm okay with that now. At one point I was like, oh, I'll never weed all that out. Now I'm just like, no, it makes me a more dynamic person. I'm like, okay, whatever. You guys really have to be the same way. Don't strive for perfection. But anyway, what I really did for a long period of time was went to the greatest lengths possible to change my conditions. Because if you're pissed off or unhappy, there's two things that you do. One thing is that you change, your conditions. The other is you change, what you focus on and your level of gratitude, right? So some of you guys may be or may not be aware of some of the things that I've done to change my conditions, all right? But what I want to introduce you guys to is the concept of it didn't work, all right? And what that means. So I want to tell you a story. 17 years old. I was 17 the first time I had it didn't work moment. Very stressed out. My very close friend, maybe even my best friend, was in jail at the time. A lot of chaos was going on around me. I was flat broke, living on my own. And I always thought, if I could just get my money together and if my friend was out of jail, everything would be great right now. My life would be perfect. So eventually he did come back, and I did get my money together. And I remember I got a really nice windfall. So I'm sitting there, and back at 17 years old, my concept of the total glory would be like having enough money for clothes, CDs, and arcade games. You guys remember that? Yeah. Wasn't that nice? Yeah. So I remember, I got the money, right? And I was on my own. I went to the arcade game. I played Street Fighter versus X-Men. Anyone ever play that? Yeah. All right. Awesome game. Okay. I used to play Akuma and Ryu. All right. Sometimes Ken. So I'm kicking ass, right? Just totally dominating the X-Men versus Street Fighter. I also like Street Fighter Alpha. And I do that, and I'm like, whatever. I still kind of feel depressed, but, it was kind of fun for a bit. So then I go get some new clothes. I used to like Tommy Hilfiger clothes at that age. You guys remember when Tommy Hilfiger was like the shit? Yeah. Yeah? So I went and got some new Tommy Hilfiger shirts. Got those, so I got a bag there. Then I go get some CDs. I used to listen to a lot of gangster rap, stuff like that. Go get some stuff like that. I got a bunch of CDs. So I'm sitting there. And then my other favorite thing is I love to eat at restaurants, all right? When I was young, especially, eating out was kind of like a treat that I got when I was a kid. So for me, that was like a button, right? So I go to the food court, and now you probably wouldn't catch me in a food court very frequently. But back then, I used to love to go to the food court. So I go to the food court, and I remember I got some pizza, started eating it. Then I got like some kind of hamburger thing and ate that, right? And I'm all full, and I'm like, I just don't feel good. And I'm like, maybe I'll get some New York fries. So I go over to New York fries, and I eat those, right? And then I'm like, maybe I'll go get some like cake or something. I go get that, and I eat it, right? And I remember, and I filled up, and I ate, and I ate, and I ate. And so I sit there, sitting at the table of this food court, so full that I'm ready to vomit, all right? And I lie there with my hand on my arm like this, looking down, and I'm like, it didn't work. It didn't work, right? And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I have everything I want right now. Right? Because at the time, women were so utterly outside my reality, it wouldn't even occur to me to get that. So, right? So, didn't even stress me. So, it's only when I started to push 20 while still being a virgin that I started to get worried. But anyway, I'm sitting there, and I realized it didn't work, right? And there's something, they say there's two ways to be really, really pissed off. One is to not get what you want. The other way, to be extremely pissed off, is to get what you want, all right? And what happened was I got what I wanted. And can you imagine what it's like for a lot of celebrities, for example, who have all the fame, all the women, and they're sitting there and they're like, I'm unhappy. Why am I unhappy? And think of the insanity that they must feel. Because at least when your conditions are not ideal, you can blame the conditions. But when you yourself are unhappy, there's no one to blame, and you start to feel totally, totally nuts. Anyway, look, time went on. I had many, great situations, many tough situations. And it was about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I'm sitting in Honolulu, right? So I moved to Honolulu. I moved okay, I want you to look at the extreme level that I went to. I literally moved right in front of the ocean. So I throw a thing out the window, and it lands in the sand or in the plunk in the water, right? I've got a great girlfriend. Okay? What I always wanted was a girlfriend that was a full nymphomaniac. You guys ever want that? Yeah. Okay. I got a girlfriend who's so addicted to sex that now I'm like, oh God, right? It's like so much into that, all right? I'm living in a great place. My, RSD is going fine. We were previously in over $250,000 in debt after Project Hollywood. I got us out of that, God knows how, all right? Worked our way out, got ourselves stable, everything is good. Right? Finally, I'm walking home, and I can feel it. I'm walking home from another nice morning at the gym and a nice, perfect day in Hawaii, looking at everyone who seems so happy, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? What is going on? I have arrived. Why is this not as tasty as I thought it would be? What is going on here? All right? So I stayed like that for a while, and let me tell you, it can make you feel insane. All right? True insanity is when you get what you want and you still have not really become the happy person that you expected. Because all your friends don't totally have what they want, but you have it, and you're not getting the outcome that you wanted, right? At least all your friends, say when you start becoming really successful with women, all right? When you've got all the women you could want. I bet you a lot of you guys in here really think that if you had the skill set of a lot of the top guys, that's all you would ever want. I bet you a lot of you guys really think that. You're like, man, look, if I could just go out into any nightclub and like at least hook up with a couple different girls a week, get any cute girlfriend I want, I could just have sex all day. I'd be thrilled. I'm sure you guys have at different points. Who here has seen a girl who's so hot that you say to yourself, it occurs to you, if I could just have sex with her all day, that is all I would ever want. Say I. Okay? Everyone has had that thought. All right? So you look at it and you think, I've got the girls, I've got what I want, what's missing here? All right? And I think I got more and more stressed out. Anyway, look, what happened to me was I went into a sort of state where I was having trouble sleeping, and it was like it wasn't when things were bad that I really stressed, all right? When things were bad, I stressed, but it was like a normal level of stress. It was like a healthy level of stress. It was when I finally started to get everything that I ever wanted that I became the most screwed up that I could have ever been, just completely feeling insane. And actually, I started to feel like I deserved to die. And the reason that I felt I deserved, and then I started getting afraid to fly in airplanes and stuff like that. It was kind of weird. And the reason I felt that I deserved death was because I was like, I've been given everything, right? I have been so fortunate to have, not everything, look, plenty of people have a lot more than me, but relative to what I expected to get out of life, I'd been given everything. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, I don't even appreciate this. Right? I am not fit to live because I don't appreciate what I have. I'm like a bad person. That's what these thoughts. It wasn't like I thought it. I wasn't like if you'd ask me, do you think you're a bad person? I'd say yes. But it was like unconsciously buried in there somewhere. All right? And that's what was starting to go on for me. Anyway, as that went and kind of built, that led me towards a certain level where eventually I was ready to crack. And what happened was I was learning about what the ego was, right? And sort of finding out what that was. And what I realized, and it was actually my friend Kieran, he wrote an article on it, and I had been sort of surrounding this area for a long time, because I'd been looking at internal pillars of reality, external pillars of reality. And something that Kieran wrote about was, he said, one of the things that people do is they create this identity. Like, say you create an identity for yourself, right? This big pimp. And people give you accolades and like you for that type of identity. Is that the real you?
No.
It's not really you, right? It's this fiction. So what happens to your unconscious mind? Your unconscious mind says, if I want to get love, if I want to be deserving of affection, if I want to be deserving of love, I have to keep playing these power games to keep showing people how great I am so I can keep getting love. But what does that do? Does that really make you think that girls and people should like you just for you?
No, it's you telling yourself you have no value because you have to live a false life.
Exactly. You guys hear what he said? You're telling yourself you have no value because you have to live a false life. And, I mean, let's say it's not even a false life. Like, let's say that you're just busting your ass to do as best as you can, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with that at all. I think that people that get all spiritual and they just sit there and don't do anything with their lives, I mean, I try to be open-minded to it, but I have a very difficult time respecting it. But I'm trying to be open-minded to it, you know? Maybe my opinion will change someday, but when I see it now, based on my value system now, I can't connect with that very well. But anyway, look, what basically was happening was like, when you get into a mindset where you're always trying to be better and better and better, and that people admire you for that character that you've become, which hopefully all of you guys will reach a level of just total mastery, and people will admire you for the person, like for what they see. Well, what starts to happen is you realize this is actually starving real self-esteem. I want you guys to think about this. It's feeding the ego, it's feeding that character of yourself, and it's literally starving out real self-esteem. Because the more love and accolades that you get for this character that you are, the more distance that you are from that person, all right, from the person that you really are, and from accepting that you could get love for the real self. So look, when you develop a pickup persona, and we all to an extent develop that pickup persona, what we're doing is we're like, oh, okay, look, this is like, okay, here's the normal me. Now there's girls. I'm out at the club. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to put on my song and dance, and the girls will be into me, right? And then what this teaches you, and you can see people who have been doing this a long time. Look at anybody who has been using a lot of shells to their personality for a long time. And what you'll notice is that they always feel like they have to be doing something. They always feel like they have to be controlling the frame, controlling the reality. They have a hard time just chilling out. Because what's happened is their whole concept of why people will like them is based on showing their like really super cool selves to people. All right? So in the same way that maybe you have like like as a chode, you have the expensive watch, you're like, oh, look at this. When you learn about social dynamics and you learn about how to improve yourself, which is a great thing. It is an awesome thing learning how to improve yourself. What winds up happening is you feel this need to show people that like more gregarious self. And this sort of thing is always going to block the close on you. Because what's happening is like, look, say that you take the girls out to, in the club, it's easy, right? The club is hectic. The club, there's stimulation going on. So your early game is okay. It's all fine. But what happens is you get back to the restaurant, right? And you're all kind of chilling. And you feel this kind of antsiness where you have to like, I need to do something. Like I need to like do a push-pull right now. Or I need to like make her chase me a bit. Or I need to entertain her, whatever it is. Which is, is all fine. There's nothing wrong with being, push-pullish, flirtatious, entertaining. All that stuff is great. All of it's awesome. But the problem is you're not doing it because you're acting through your own intentions. You're doing it because you need to do it. Have you guys ever been around someone who has a lot of status, but as soon as they need to show you their status, they look chode?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right? They need to show you that. It's like that same powerful guy who seems so incredible and that people admire, but all of a sudden, when you see that he needs it, he just gave his power away. It's like, really? It's like, really? You feel the need to show me all that? Damn. I'm sorry about that, right? Because essentially, they're almost viewing themselves as inherently lower than you are, all right? So they've handed their power away. So this is what leads us to the concept. This is a sort of a lead-in to the concept of ego versus self-esteem. All right, guys?